You ever feel like no matter how hard you try, you just don't really measure up? Maybe you work hard, but you're not really seeing the results you expect. Or maybe you see other people make things just look effortless and wonder, maybe I just wasn't born with that kind of talent. See, in Blue Lock, players are classified as either geniuses, those born with an insane gift, or talented learners, people who use logic and strategy to compete. And understanding which one you are might be the key to finally unlocking your potential. And that's why in today's video, we'll be using Blue Lock's idea of talented learners and geniuses to help us break down what makes a talented learner, what makes a genius, and how understanding which one you are can help you take back control of your own growth. Now, for the longest time, honestly, I felt like I wasn't really good at anything. I mean, I was smart, but I wasn't the smartest. I mean, I'm athletic, but I wasn't the most athletic. I was just okay at a lot of different things, but never really exceptional at any of them. And maybe you felt the same before. You put in the work, you studied these different strategies and follow all the advice, but no matter how much effort you put in, you never seem to reach that genius level. Meanwhile, some other people make it look effortless, almost as if they were born with it. And this is exactly what talented learners often struggle with. They aren't naturally gifted in one clear way, so their only path forward is through relentless adaptation and strategizing. And of course, Isagi from Blue Lock is a perfect example of this. He doesn't just have one really standout ability, so he just relies on his spatial awareness and logical play to outthink and outsmart his opponents. And the same can be said about Kaiser, whose use of logic allows him to be in the right place at the right time, seemingly no matter the situation. And here's the real problem for many talented learners. Just strategizing isn't enough for them to close the gap. They need to actually apply their strategies and adaptations or risk staying stuck in the same place forever. So the solution is that talented learners need to start acting on their analysis instead of just thinking about them. I mean, Isagi didn't just sit back and just watch. He applied what he saw and learned and developed his idea of the metavision and the two-gun volley just so he can still compete at a higher level. And in real life, think about most entrepreneurs. They don't just study business and say, okay, they got it. They plan, take risks, adapt, and iterate, embodying the idea of Kaizen, which I've already covered before on the channel. So if you identify yourself as a talented learner and you feel stuck, then I want you to ask yourself this. Are you just studying or are you actually applying what you've learned? Now, maybe you're on the other side of the spectrum. Maybe you've always had a natural ability, whether it's creativity, athleticism, or maybe even problem solve. And when you're in your element, things just flow. You don't always know how you do it, but when the moment calls for it, you just deliver. That's what it means to be a genius. And Blue Lock gives us some insane examples of this. I mean, you have Nagi with his impossible ball control, Bachira with his unpredictable dribbling style, and of course, Baro, the villainous king whose malicious playstyle just leaves everyone confused. Now, these players don't just play the game, they honestly kind of redefined it. And in real life, you can see this in almost any profession, whether it be artists, musicians, or athletes. They always seem to create things that no one else can replicate, oftentimes elevating the standard of their profession. But of course, herein lies the problem, is that talent alone often isn't enough. See, many geniuses often struggle when they finally meet competition that forces them to play outside of their comfort zone in whatever area. And of course, Nagi is a real perfect example of this. See, his talent carried him his entire tenure at Blue Lock, but when players like Isagi and Rin started disrupting his rhythm, he realized his skills alone honestly wouldn't be enough. I mean, Ego makes note that after Nagi's super goal against Isagi, it was just going to be downhill for him. That's because that goal was born purely out of Nagi's own talent and isn't really repeatable. And the same thing happens in real life. Many artists, musicians, or even prodigy athletes hit a wall that being talented alone won't get them through, and they honestly risk becoming these one-hit wonders. because without discipline and refinement, their talent can just go to waste. And that's why the best of the best don't just rely on talent, they refine it with some type of structure. And Anzibaro is a surprising example of this. See, after his defeat against Isagi and his training in the NEL, he's adapted his playstyle to be more inclusive of his teammates rather than just ignoring them outright, making him a much more versatile threat. And of course, you see this with a bunch of pro athletes all the time. Those who make it pro and stay there are the ones who can use their talents in a way that is both repeatable and sustainable. So if you identify yourself as a genius, then your next step isn't to just keep coasting by on your talent alone. It's to build a system that makes your talent repeatable under any condition. Now, the truth is, most of us aren't purely geniuses or purely talented learners. We exist somewhere in between. But the biggest mistake people make is that they don't know where they stand, so they chase down the wrong path. I mean, for years, I thought I could just work harder and things would eventually click for me. But the truth was, I needed to take stock of my own strengths and then find a way to play to those instead. And the same goes for athletes who spend their entire career training only to realize they were trying to master something that didn't suit their natural skills. Now, this is a warning that both Chris gave to the Blue Lockers and Kunigami gave to Isagi when asked about how to improve themselves. Now, some people work endlessly, trying to grind their ways into success, trying everything under the sun, when they should really be leaning into their own natural strengths. And others rely too much on their talent instead of actually building a system around it. And this creates a lack of vision, which leads to frustration, stagnation, and a feeling of being stuck in a cycle where nothing ever changes. So, how do you take back control? Well, first, identify where you fall on the spectrum and then apply the missing piece. If you're a talented learner, start executing and iterating instead of just analyzing everything. And if you're a genius, build structure around your gift to make it repeatable. Now, in Blue Lock, we see how players on each end of the spectrums apply their missing piece. For Isagi, Kaiser, and Ryo, they're all talented learners that have one defining genius level talent that they had to learn how to use in order to get to their max potential. I mean, Isagi's level of spatial awareness is stated to be something pretty unique to him, that his senses are heightened to a degree that other people honestly just can't get to. So Isagi developed his metavision and found a way to exploit the other players' egos to give himself a winning formula. For Kaiser, his leg swing speed is something that other players just don't have. So he took advantage of it and created a formula that he can recreate, leading to his Kaiser impact. And while anyone can analyze how someone does something and add it to their own tool belt, Ryo's natural dexterity allows him to copy any technique he studied nearly perfect. Now, when we go to the other side of the coin with geniuses, we got Rin and Noah were both born with insane talents. Rin's destructive impulse and natural playmaking, and Noah's insane physique. But both have shown the capacity to apply high levels of logic and analyze the situation at hand to adapt and make the best plays possible. Now, I say all this to say because the truth is we are all born with a God-given gift, something that just comes naturally to us. But understanding it and unlocking this full potential is going to take some intentional action. So what I want you to do is ask yourself this: are you leaning into your gift, or are you trying to force something that doesn't really fit? When you understand where you fall on the talented learner versus genius scale, you can stop wasting time on things that just doesn't work for you and instead start playing to your own strengths, because that's the true key on how you can break free from this feeling of being stuck. Now, at the end of the day, success isn't about being born talented or just grinding mindlessly. It's about understanding who you are and using that knowledge to win. So where do you think you fall on this talented learner versus genius spectrum? Me personally, I think I lean more towards being a talented learner, but I'm interested to see what you guys are. And if you want to learn more about how to get unstuck and start taking back control of your life, then go ahead and check out this next video right here.